The Louis Diaz podcast.
Yep.
Dan Brader, welcome to Louis Diaz podcast.
Hey, great to be here. Love the spot. This is awesome.
Yeah, you like this spot?
Yeah, I've already had a few people come up and chat to us, and you're getting follows by the second. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. You know, like I talk about this often. I like being out in public. You know, I like interacting with people. I like being in and around. I think, you know, what the other side of it is, that the editing part of this podcast is very isolating, right? You're in front of a screen and, you know, you're spending hours in front of an editing suite, and it's like, you know, suddenly you haven't been around people for like 6 days.
Yeah, and you start getting a bit incel-y and, weird, and you don't want to do that. I've been there when you just get in your room too much by yourself. You gotta
you
go
start
out and talk to
sitting
people.
on your hand and giving yourself the stranger.
Yeah. The old stranger wank's a good one. Yeah.
Very good. We got into this really quickly. You know, I was reading you. So you contacted me yesterday, and then you sent me this article.
Oh, yeah. Did you have a read of that crazy article?
I read it. I think it was written by a girl, like a woman. I could kind of tell it had a feminine tone to it. And it was talking about you and your crazy life. And there's this one bit where you talk about wanting to do comedy that really sort of ruffles feathers or something. Like, I can't remember the exact terminology that you used, but
button pushing, that kind of thing.
Button pusher. Yeah.
I think that one's maybe from a couple of years ago or something.
Yeah,
but
it seems a couple years old.
But I still feel I like that stuff for sure, but I'm always wanting to not cross the line out to just being like a shock tactic edgelord. So it's trying to get the line of like provoking, but not just a troll or whatever. You know what I mean? You don't want to be like a troll under the bridge, just trying to piss people off with no point of view. So it's just the fine line of it. Yeah.
You know, comedy's an interesting one, isn't it? Because, like, you know, part of it is, you know, I think the critical thinking factors that go into finding things in society that you can put a positive spin on or put a funny spin on.
Yeah.
And then there's like, where do you draw that line? You know, like, do we draw that line with death, for example? Like, that's an interesting one. Like, when someone dies, can you laugh about that?
I feel like that one's, it's weird. For some reason, like, it's the sexual stuff that can sometimes get you in more trouble.
The sexual stuff?
Yeah, rather than, jokes about pedophilia or, sexual assault and stuff like that. Those are the very difficult ones you got to be really on your game to do, because it can just seem in poor taste and not funny. But death, for some reason, it's slightly easier to joke about. It is weird like that. You'd think in your brain like that would be more taboo, but it's just like in movies, like sex scenes is such a big of a deal than 500 people being shot in the head by John Wick or whatever. No one blinks an eye over that. But then there's all this debate about the sex scenes, and it's weird, double standards and stuff. Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know if fucking kiddie fiddlers get much. Yeah, we don't want to give them much attention in society, do we? Like, we don't want to give
aspect.
We don't want to glorify them in some way, or you know what it is? It's like watering down through humor.
Yeah,
I think kind of what humor can do, right, is it can simmer something down to a point where you're not hysterical about it anymore.
Yes,
Makes sense?
yeah. You take away the power from it in a way. And I think, I see what you're saying. It's like sometimes if you get a joke about a kiddie fiddler just right, people laugh and it's a nice release. But sometimes it's like people just don't. It's such an uncomfortable topic. You've got to be very funny with it, because people, they just don't want to hear about it, which is, we've all, got family in our life and stuff. So I get it. It's a hard needle to thread. But when you thread it, it's so satisfying because it's difficult. Yeah.
I get you. So is that kind of what sort of makes you tick a little bit then? Is like trying to find those like challenging topics?
Yes, for sure. Yeah. It's also been to my detriment in some ways, I'll admit, because, you're chasing hard laughs. And sometimes I'm like, man, I wish my brain would take it easy on me and want to do like little, like gentler jokes sometimes. But every time I try to do them, I just get bored, and
Okay.
I'm a weird guy like that. Yeah, it's like I like hot sauce on the food. I was always self-harming in subtle ways. Yeah.
That's not weird.
Oh no, but I cover it. You know what I mean? And I got blooming like snot coming out my nose, and I'm like, what am I doing? But I love the taste and the feeling or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm numb maybe if I don't kind of wake myself up in crazy ways. I think it's that, yeah.
Where do you think you get that from?
I feel like even though, like, so I'm like early 40s, but I'm a real internet guy and stuff for like a lot of comedians. And I was watching this doco about it last night, and it's called something like I Can't Feel Anything. And they were talking about how that internet can do that to people. You're just on there all the time, and you're watching wild stuff. We all watch fairly wild stuff now.
Desensitization, is that what you're talking about?
So you've got to wake your brain up and stuff. And or the smart thing, which is so hard to do, and I don't know if you've done it, do the old social media detox. It's so difficult. I've got to throw my phone in the river pretty much,
Oh, man. Yeah.
Like that's, but get someone to fish it out if they think I'm responsible enough to use it.
I saw how frequently you post. I was kind of shocked.
Yeah, I'm a bit too, someone needs to lock me in a padded cell with a old school Nokia or something.
Have you seen that device where you can actually lock your phone in it?
Yeah.
Have you seen those?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking of getting one of those.
It's not a bad idea, if you've got no restraint like I have,
I think there's people like for example, you and I that we're doing publicly facing things, like I'm doing a podcast that needs to be promoted.
Yes.
You're doing you do stand-up comedy. You want to promote that. You want a room as well, or like a series of rooms, like Blowout Comedy?
It's Blowout Comedy, you nailed it, and it's a series, so it's like, at the moment, I've kind of got like a monthly thing happening, but every now and again I do some pop-up ones and stuff, and back in New Zealand I used to tour around with it a lot. Might do that here next year, but it's more expensive touring here than back in New Zealand because everything's so small. And, you can just bus everywhere and stuff like that. But I've been running Blowout off and on since 2008, and it's like it's fun.
Whoa!
But it's up and down. Running rooms is hard. Like good nights, bad nights, medium nights, and when it works though, it's such good feeling.
Yeah. I was reading that article, and it said like you were 20 something and you got up in front of a crowd, or 20.
Yeah.
And you got up in front of a crowd and you did your first kind of gig. And like, I'm kind of curious, like what compelled you back then to want to get up?
So at school, I just became like the typical class clown. I don't know. I just I get bored and I'd do impressions of the teacher or do some dumb prank on a friend. And I was just always like that. And then I love comedy, like Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder. I used to love their movies when I was young.
Gene Wilder.
Yeah, they're just funny dudes. And I just love the idea of walking around just like saying wisecracks. You know how they do in those movies? I'm like, that'd be a good lifestyle, just walking around like saying smart ass stuff and, being a bit of a cheeky bugger. I just loved it, And my dad's quite funny too, and I grew up around him just always saying cheeky stuff to people and making them laugh or pissing them off. Well, sometimes both at the same time.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's kind of fun, but I didn't kind of understand when I was young that he had a pretty good job and so he could get away with it. Yeah. But when you're just a regular punter, you don't have that status, I guess. So he was, a lot of people were laughing out of fear because, I didn't get, you don't get all that when you're a little kid. And as I got older, I was like, hang on a minute, I can't be talking down to people, who the hell am I or whatever. So slowly got into reality and out of my dad's world, which is a little bit toxic. So I'm glad I kind of snapped out of that.
How's it toxic?
Just a bit bullying sometimes. It's like I try not to, for a long time now, try to make sure I'm not ever bullying with my sense of humor. I want it to be cheeky but playful and make sure people feel safe and I'm not a bad guy, if you know what I mean. So it's like, and I'm really aware of, I've got so much stuff wrong. I try to make it fun. I've got so much stuff wrong with me, you know what I mean? So, you don't want to think you're better than people because, it's a bad way to live. And I'm not. I'm useless. I'm hopeless.
I get it. No, I get it. Yeah, bullying's not great. Like, no. I think it's a natural part of life, though. When I think about bullying, and you know what? Like, I think about bullying.
Yeah.
And you think about it in like the workplace amongst adults, it's kind of toxic.
Yes.
But kids just kind of naturally bully each other. Like straight away. Like, and they're not encouraged by anyone.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
it's innate, hey. Yeah.
It's innate.
Yeah.
It's like a rite of passage as a child.
Yeah.
Like you fucking know.
Yeah.
That like.
And you can be on both sides of the coin at some time in your life. Well, I've been both, mostly been bullied, but I've been a bully as well. So it's happens, the mix of it,
I find that concept kind of interesting, though, that it is like an innate rite of passage.
Yeah. But it toughens you up. There's some good stuff.
It does.
Like,
You know what it
yeah.
does?
Yeah.
You know what it does, actually? I think it builds humility.
Yes, 100%.
And that is what we're lacking in society.
Yeah.
So much.
Totally. That's where stand-up's so good, because it's like the crowd humbles you. You can have like a bunch of good shows, but you're always going to have bad ones. And you see some guy or girl, you're like, there's no way this person could ever fall on their face. But they will. It's so, doesn't matter if you're like the best guy or girl in the world, or best non-binary, if you want to be PC, you're going to fall on your face at some point.
Yeah.
And so it keeps everyone humble.
Yeah, no, that is interesting. I think, like, in a way, there's a place for it.
Yes, yeah,
Like, there's a place for, like, you know, it's interesting because, like, I like to sort of try and figure out where the lines blur between one thing and the other. So, for example, there's
like bullying and being kind of instructive in a way.
Potentially, or like bullying and, for example, tall poppy syndrome.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
which is in
Sean
New
was
Zealand
talking
and
about
here.
tall.
Yeah, tall poppy.
I can't even get it out.
That means you've got it, because even talking about it, you're worried you'll be perceived as a tall poppy.
No,
so
I'm just stuttering.
I'm being Freud now. I'm just way overanalyzing everything.
But, you know, like Sean was talking about, New Zealand is very
100%.
tall poppy syndrome-ish. What would you call that? You call it like,
yeah,
it's a thing there. It's part of your society's like social structure.
Yes, yeah, it's
governed by a lot of tall poppy syndrome.
It's embedded in it. And me and him, actually, funny enough, we were hanging out on the weekend at the Comics Lounge, and we were just chatting away and stuff. And that topic came up, and we talked about how, like, you know, diamonds make pressure and stuff like that. And he said that it's like there's so many good Kiwi comics that are coming through, and they've all got that kind of self-deprecating, you know, style, and it's been built from the tall poppy thing, because people won't just let you kind of like go up there and just think you're too cool in New Zealand. And it creates this fun, self-deprecating sense of humor, which is very likable when it's done well. And so it's been a good thing for sure, but it also has prevented a lot of people maybe from doing stuff because of the pressure. But that's the industry, I guess.
Yeah, that's the industry, and that's life. You know, that's the forest from the trees. You know.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, one of the things that I think about from time to time. One of the things that I think about from time to time is like, you were once a little sperm.
Yes. Hopefully a slightly big sperm.
I was once a sperm too, so I'm not just picking on you. That
no,
wasn't
me
me trying to bully you.
I'm being an idiot, yeah.
You know, and we all sort of were housed in a nutsack once upon a time.
Yeah.
And there was like a million other friends.
It was a good time, yeah.
You know, we was like, all right, get ready. The starting gun's gonna go. Like, you know, on your marks, get set, and pow, and we're shot out of that thing, right?
Yeah, we made it.
And only one of you is going to win. And so you get to the end of that race, and you've been the one successful. That was you.
Yes, yeah.
And it turns out it was me too.
Yeah.
You were like one successful little sperm that fertilized that egg.
Yeah. So you start immediately in competition.
You're a fucking winner.
Yes.
You start immediately in competition.
Yeah.
You're a winner.
And
guess
we
what?
won, yeah.
If you're that 999,999 other sperms, you're a fucking loser.
Exactly, yeah. So it's
And that was not you.
Life's competition immediately. That's a good metaphor. I like it, yeah.
Yeah, and so like, I think it's funny because you win that race, right? And then you get to sort of ingest for 9 months, and then you come out into the world, and fuck you, we go again.
Yeah, every day too. It's relentless. Yeah. So sometimes I'm chatting to a friend or whatever, and I'll just say without thinking about it, I'll be like, I've got to get to the finish of this. And one time he said, this funny friend of mine called Shane Hunter, he goes, what, life? It just came out, and I go, no, I don't mean that. And he goes, I think you do. He goes, I think the way you live your life, you know, you just want it to kind of end, and not in a dark way. You're just tired from just, you know, being a goon, just trying to do everything all the time and not kind of resting enough.
Yeah.
Because everybody gets so burnt out, you know, in comedy and life today. It's so hard out there. Yeah.
You can, you know, like we're challenged by our own sort of desire to strive for a better life.
Yeah.
But when we don't set structure and goals around it, you know, like, how long is a piece of string?
Exactly. Yeah, you can, and I'll put myself in that category. I'm getting better with it. But the thing is, there's a difference between, and that's where the masters are, is like working hard but working smart. And it's real easy to just be running around doing all sorts of stuff. But are you putting in all the little, tiny little details which you've got to put in, have a fine eye on in order to kind of make it somewhere rather than just sort of float around in the same, middle of the pack kind of place. So that's the finishing part that a lot of people never get, and I haven't quite figured it out yet. It's what separates, the wheat from the chaff and that.
Yeah, it's a good question. I was thinking about this kind of recently, like I had to ask myself some pretty fucking hard truth questions.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I noticed about myself, what a weapon, is that...
There's a lot going down this alleyway, yeah.
That is a sensational physique. I think one of the things that I noticed is, like, I had to ask myself, have you been in sitting in comfort zones too much?
Yeah, comfort zones is a huge one, yeah.
And this is probably not one that I would sort of, I guess, associate with you after reading that article, because you were talking about sleeping in alcoholics' closets while it was raining and shit.
Yeah.
But and you can tell I read it, right?
Yeah. I'm glad you remember that, but that was a crazy night, yeah.
But I think we can be guilty of being in comfort zones, and so I get to the end of the year, like at the point of recording this, what is it? We're like 2 weeks left of 2024, right?
Yeah, at the finish line, yeah.
And you sort of get to the end of the year and you're like, I'm still kind of here and I haven't fucking moved over there.
That's how I feel every year, right?
And it's like, all right. Here's a good question for you in that moment. What comfort zones have I sat in this year?
Yeah.
Just do an analysis on that alone. Because yes, you strived. Yes, you put on this many shows.
Yeah.
Yes, you did this. Yes, you did that. You're running out of questions. Like you don't have the answers.
Yes.
You're not quite sure, like where you're going wrong.
Yeah.
A great thing to ask yourself: which comfort zones have I stayed in this year?
Yeah, I feel like what I would have sort of done big time is when you're doing loads of open mics, it's so easy to kind of not take them seriously enough, because it's like, it's an open mic, and everybody kind of almost lets each other off the hook in a way. So we're writing jokes on our hands, we're, like not writing enough new jokes, and your sloppy habits and stuff like that. So you really have to, like, the best guys and girls, even when they're at a dirty open mic in front of 5 people, are treating it like, the Jimmy Kimmel show or whatever. And, people might want to scoff and laugh at that, but they're smart. We're the idiots, because if you always set a high standard for yourself, the standard will remain high. Whereas if you dip in and out of standards, which I do, it's like I'll do that and then I'll get a paid gig, and obviously I'll try and raise my game. But the sloppiness is still in my system, because I've just been slopping around at the other shows. So
it's a lot of slop going on.
Yeah.
A lot of connotations there.
A lot of sloppy alcoholic soup.
Yeah.
Made from tears and gin, maybe.
I think that's a great point, though. You're talking about setting high standards for ourselves.
Yeah.
And what the benefits of that are that, that we don't have, like, we're constantly on,
Yeah.
And I think when you're doing that, you're constantly pushing higher. Like, like if I come in today and I'm pushing at my ceiling,
yes,
and I do that every day, then eventually I'm going to kind of outgrow this room. I'm going to try and get to a new ceiling.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
like,
so you don't plateau, you just keep rising. Yeah.
If you're doing things half-assed,
you're
not pushing. I think that's one of the things that I noticed with the podcast this year when I started recording with video, and then I moved to this setup with this 360 camera.
Yeah.
Is that I was like, things are growing now. Things are getting better. Things are looking hotter. People are commenting. People are giving me great compliments, because I pushed through that comfort zone of
100%.
Being audio only.
Yeah.
Because I pushed myself to do this whole new thing.
Yeah, that's great.
Like not staying kind of in that same place, but actually taking that risk to sort of go, like, what else can I do? What else can I
and you have the initial little discomfort whenever you try something bigger and better, but you master it and then you move on to the next step.
Yes.
And that's the ideal, but it's so easy for loads of people to, just get stuck in that kind of comfort zone of just slopping around, as I like to call it. And then they might have little moments when they show their potential, but you can't just be grasping onto the odd little moment of potential. You want to fulfill it, like, it's a depressing place to be if people are like, oh, that guy's got a lot of potential and he's over like 30 years of age. You know what I mean? Like if you're 15, you got potential, great, 25, but the older you get, potential is kind of almost very negative.
That's funny. That's funny you say that, because I've felt that before too. And you know, I've written a children's book as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, which
That's
is
cool.
interesting, and it's a great book. Like, it really is.
Did you write it in an alleyway?
No, mate. I've got some stories.
Yeah,
I've got some stories
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, some serious stories. But you know, that was a pretty rough period of my life, actually.
But that's a nice way to get out of it. Something positive, like children's book. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, like, you know, people know that I do this.
Yeah.
And I have this sort of corporate job on the side.
Nice.
Well, not on the side. It's my main gig. What am I talking about?
But this is your passion. I see what you're saying.
Passion.
Yeah.
And so, like, when people first meet me and get to know me, they're like, oh, yeah. I'm like, oh, yeah, I've also written a children's book. I sort of just bring it up because maybe they say that they've just had a child or something like that. I'm like, I've written a children's book. And you know what they say? The one thing they say is, dude, what are you doing here? Like, as in... Yeah. Like, you've done all these amazing things. You've got all this potential.
Yeah.
What are you doing here? And that's the biggest kick in the nuts, because it's like...
They think it's a compliment too, but I mean... But that's...
I don't think they're coming from a complimentary place. They're kind of coming from a place like, dude, you're underachieving for, like, what's wrong? You know what I mean? Like,
I see what you're saying. I misinterpreted. I was thinking they were saying, oh, man, you're so great. What are you doing here? But you're meaning they're sort of doing that, but there's an underlying raise your game type vibe or whatever.
Maybe that's just the way I'm interpreting it. But But I think it's a good ego checker. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, it's like, oh, yeah. Like, there's something that I've done in the last 15 years that has kept me in a place where these people that look at me and see this potential, I haven't met those expectations. And to them, in their eyes, I'm someone that's easily capable of having done great things and achieved great things by now. But, like, for some reason, I haven't. Like, whoa, where's the disconnect there? It's a good thing to sort of, when we get to our 40s, because you're 40, early 40s, you said.
Yeah.
I just turned 40 this year, so I've just joined the 4-0 club.
Oh, nice.
And it's like, all right, we need to start reflecting on these fucking things.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be that guy that gets to 50 and people saying, hey, you got a lot of potential. Because people aren't saying that at 50.
Nah.
You won't get that at 50.
Nah. It's starting to dry up a wee bit now, even. It's rare that, you know, it pops up now because, you know, we've aged out of it. But you get the odd person will throw it at you, but yeah, it just starts to get depressing after a certain amount of time, you know. And it's like if you like crush at a open mic and you're, you know, 40, that's what you should be doing. So you're not going to get the back slaps you get as like a 26-year-old or something who's, you know, like that's his, you know, one of the mountains he was trying to climb is crushing at open mics and stuff. So that's tap time. But 40-year-olds doing it, whatever, it's like, you should be doing that every time, mate. You know what I mean? You've been around, so you can't be like, you know, needing the constant ego strokes. But comedy's like that, eh? Like, even though you know,
Life is like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Life is like that.
You just want the ego strokes, even though that should be your bread and butter. You know, it's like, look how nice my bread and butter looks, though, you know, and it's like, dude, it's bread and butter. You're not getting on the cover of Cuisine, you know, make something better, you know. But I'm serving up bread and butter,
That's funny. You know what I also saw? That you're a writer, right? You're a writer. You've done a lot of writing gigs.
I came from that background, actually, so reverse back quick, I know I can ramble, but the 20-year-old thing that you said, I did like a handful of gigs when I was at uni. Didn't get back into it till I was like late 20s.
Oh, right.
Because I was doing
really?
I was doing the writing life, kind of advertising and writing for newspapers and little other piecemeal things here and there. And I always sort of get back to stand up, but I kind of lost track of it because it was almost like a lark. You know, you're at uni and you try things out. And,
for sure.
You know, some girl has
That's your early 20s, man. You should spend your entire 20s trying some shit out.
Yeah. So when I was at uni, I was like trying everything. I was like doing that. I was doing poetry readings, which was cringe. Just how I did them, not the poetry readings. They're fine. And then I was doing like theatre sports, and I wrote a few plays and acting and stuff like that. So you're just throwing everything against the wall, see what fits.
What sticks.
And then writing's probably my natural talent, and then stand up is maybe secondary, but I prefer performing more because writing is just, I'm good at it, but it does my head in just sitting there by myself. Like you were talking with the editing, you love it obviously, but there's a part of you that wants to socialize, and like I miss that with just writing all the time. It's just two in my head. And
it felt like the writing's taken you quite a number of places. Like I feel like I saw something about comic book writing, and I saw something about
I forgot
radio.
that. Yes, I did. My first major jobs out of uni were radio stuff. So like announcing stuff, and then like I did wrote copy for like a number of radio stations around
boring.
New Zealand.
Sorry.
It sounds boring, but it's actually quite fun. You know how you listen to radio and a lot of the ads are terrible, but like I was trying to do fun stuff at least, so they liked me. Sometimes I was being too weird for them, and they would send it back to the drawing board. But I can do little voices and stuff, and so I was trying to make entertaining ads. I didn't want to be one of those guys where every ad was like, "Come to such and such as car yard," and blah 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 blah, just boring. So I'd have little characters and mayhem happening and stuff, and
that's kind of cool.
So it was good fun, yeah. But then I got back into stand up. I still do some of that stuff on the side, but not the way I used to. But there is a part of you that always second guesses. I was talking to a mate last night, and slightly similar backstory is like really high paying, next to comedy, not in real life, high paying jobs next to comedy that he had and I've had, and you're like, oh man, we should have just stuck with that during the day and held on to it, and then done the comedy at night. Like Sean's a lawyer during the day. That's smart or whatever. Good, you got your good money, you're settled, blah blah blah, and then you do your comedy at night. It's hard to juggle, but the financial stress is minimal versus me doing a bunch of piecemeal jobs and comedy. It's very financially stressful.
I don't know. I think Sean likes to hit the pokies quite a bit. So
I wouldn't be surprised if a bit of it went missing from the drink, the pokies, and just good times and stuff. Yeah,
he's having a good time, that guy.
He's a laugh, right? He's great to have a few drinks with.
Forwarding him up a couple of times. Sean Collier, I did 35 and 37 with Sean Collier before and after his comedy festival. And good guy. I really like Sean.
He's on the rise too. I feel like it's just something a hair away from something pretty big happening, because his reels are starting to get some big serious views. He had like an absolute banger at the Comedy Store in Sydney that he's got footage of.
Yeah.
Sold out some, his story. Sold out some big festival in New Zealand, and like things are really happening for him. So
that's good. He deserves it. I mean, everyone. I think anyone that works hard deserves some level of some signs. Signs that you're on the right track. That all your energy isn't going to waste or whatever.
100%.
Or futile in some way. I think. It's great to see, especially your mates, and Sean's a great supporter of my podcast as well. And
nice. He's good with his friends.
He is, and that's the thing about that guy. He wants you to do well too. If you want to do well, he wants you to do well. And I feel like being obviously a New Zealand native, he's well aware of the tall poppy syndrome, but he doesn't carry it himself. You know what I mean? Like, you don't ever sense that he kind of feels a little bit. What would you say? You'd say like he doesn't feel like he ever wants anything but success for other people.
Yeah, no, he definitely doesn't have the negative side of the tall poppy. He's got it like I've got it in terms of we've been the people haven't liked our ambition or whatever. The negative people.
Yeah.
So, but in terms of putting that back on other people, he wants people to succeed and wants to help his mates out, that's good. Which is great. It's a
good trait.
I feel like the tall poppy thing's beneficial in terms of like the pressure makes diamonds and it makes you not be complacent. But the negative side is when you start acting like the others and trying to bring everyone down. That sucks. Like I've got some mates back in New Zealand, and they see that I'm having a bit of fun here, and they're real cool and check in and go, hey, this looks like it's going good. And then I've got other ones, and they'll just see the photo that I did with, have nights when you perform to 4 people, and they'll just make fun of that. And I know I'm all for that, but if that's the only thing they're doing, you're like, where's your head at if you can only laugh with me at my shit times? You know what I mean? Like, I laugh at my shit times too, but, it's got to be a bit of yin and yang, not just that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, hey, I want to ask you, because there was an interesting question that was brought up in that article. And I know, like you said, that article is a couple of years old.
Yeah,
and I think you sort of, maybe your perspectives have changed since then.
Yeah, for sure.
There was a question that was asked in that article that was written, what was it, in the dog box or something like that?
So just if anyone wants to look it up, it's called In the Dog Box. And this is so my wheelhouse. It's a magazine that you can get online, but also hard copies. And again, guess where you get it from? Calendar Girls strip clubs.
Nice.
So no one's read that in the strip clubs, but a lot of pages are stuck together. None with my face on it though. But yeah, I'm in one of those mags.
That's a compliment. That'd be a compliment.
Yeah, imagine that if there's a few sticky interviews in there of me.
There you go.
Much better, visual material in that though than my ugly old mug. But yeah, I'm sorry, but yeah.
You never know what gets someone off.
Yeah, you never know.
But I read that question was like, do you think this is a great age to be getting into comedy or something like that?
Oh, I think I know when you're heading at. Yeah, but keep going. Yeah, just to clarify. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it was about that, and I think you sort of your response was around like, yeah, there's a generation of comics that are coming up that sort of like to tell everyone else how to live or something like that.
Yeah, I was a bit on my high horse there.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I've been thinking a bit about it lately. I've approached a few comedians to be part of this podcast, and I feel like, you know what? I'm not sure I actually want someone who just wants to talk about divisive stuff and tell everyone how they think the world should be.
For sure.
Like you're a comedian.
Yeah.
Not a political activist. Like, shut the fuck up and make me laugh.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Pardon my French.
No, I know what you mean.
But I really related to your response in that question, and you weren't half as savage as I just was.
Yes, sure, yeah.
But also, like, what do you think of comedy these days? Like, tell me what your assessment
of the current climate. I feel like,
and I'm talking about locally and internationally.
So, like, there is a lot of that. A lot of like people there in their like early 20s and mid 20s, and I mean, we've all got a bit of that when we're young, and they come in and they kind of think they're going to change the world, and everyone wants to hear their opinions about stuff, and they get bogged down in that so much that the laughs, they're not focusing on that enough. It's not that they're not funny people, they are, but they're so focused on activism and all the right causes and all that stuff. So my one is like, hey, talk about whatever you want as long as it's funny and it's entertaining, because I love political stuff when it's well done, but I also don't want to hear how the world should be run by someone who's 23 and who's read a few books and isn't making me laugh,
and is literally growing up in the West.
And they're, you know what I mean, I'm a middle class kid.
It's privileged.
Middle class white kids, so I'm like that too, but I don't lecture like that because I'd feel like an idiot doing it, but I'm older and I've got experience. But I definitely came in not quite like that, but I do regret and embarrassed by when I came in. My one was I came in a bit hot.
Oh, really?
And in my later 20s, and I've been watching too much Stuart Lee and some other big dogs and stuff, and I was trying to mimic that a bit, and throwing the odd little lecture nugget in between jokes, and I was like, oh god, what was I thinking? But that was where I was a victim of instructive bullying. Like, a few kind of older guys and girls took me aside in a nice way and were like, what are you doing? Like,
really? Would you call that bullying?
Probably not. Maybe bullying is
I
like,
would say like fucking constructive criticism.
They roasted me every now and again, and that stuff
good.
like that. So yeah, probably not bullying. Constructive criticism with a side of roasting.
A side of roasting. Well, look, I'm back to my point before. We all need to be roasted.
I definitely needed it then for 100%.
Yeah, and like, it seems really harsh at the time.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that I sort of realized, like, especially more lately, was like, oh, dude, you're really lucky and you're really privileged.
Yes,
and
we totally
I don't like that word because it's misused by like really woke people.
Yeah, the extreme of it for sure.
But like, at the same time, I'm pretty, like, I've got all my limbs, my arms and legs, like fingers, toes, both my eyes work. At the moment, and I got my hearing, so I'm pretty lucky. So sometimes when you're going through a tizzy phase, where you're sort of being a bit whingy and complaining. Yeah. And like, you can't snap yourself out of it.
Yeah.
And someone else is kind of sick of listening to your bullshit.
Yes.
Like, you need that, and they feel like, I need to intervene here. I got to step in and check that person before they wreck themselves.
Yeah, definitely. Because we can just
come from a loving place.
We can get caught up in our own feedback loop, and it's just narcissism or whatever. We're just thinking all about ourselves and not realizing.
Guilty.
Totally happens, and not realizing, hang on a minute, like, there's more going on than that, and I've got to like think outside of just my own little dumb brain and realize, I've been handed some like, nice cards, and I just need to learn how to play them rather than just moaning about the tiny minutiae and stuff.
That's good. One of the things I talk a lot about on this podcast is like the converse of that, which is like gratitude.
Yes, yeah.
And so I think one of the things I want to be a little bit more aware of is like asking some of my guests like you now. It's like, what do you find yourself being grateful for lately?
Well, like, I'm so glad that I have changed in that way, because now, like, anyone gives me a spot, the time of day, stuff like this is awesome. Just any kind of like
You're welcome.
Attention validation.
I'm joking, man.
I'm attention validation time to sort of speak my piece or whatever. Like, I'm appreciative of it all. Whereas when I was younger, it was like always wanting the next best thing. So it was like, you know what I mean? So it was like you could do 20 gigs, but they're all crap gigs. Just a bit real negative in the head, rather than seeing what I could do with the gigs and the fact that people were cool enough to give them to me. So like, a lot of my late 20s, early 30s, I have regrets for kind of having an entitled kind of crappy attitude for not every day of my life during that period, but there were moments where it kind of took over, and I was like, oh man, that sucks. Yeah.
There you go. There's that humility I was talking about, like if you can, when you can admit, there's wrongdoing or there was a incorrect mindset, I think that shows a lot of growth.
Yeah, definitely. And it's good when it happens, because it sucks when you get some friends and you're like, man, like they're that far away from having a epiphany or something. And like you can kind of try and push them in that direction, but some people just get real defensive, and I won't like go into examples in case one of my friends listens, but it just happens, and I've been that guy too. And sometimes you just got to step away for a bit, hope they figure it out, and then you come back to them and they've figured it out on their own. And then that thing that you hinted at ages ago, they're like, oh man, sorry, you like just wasn't ready to hear it then. And
that's a good moment. Those are great moments.
It's so good when that happens, like when someone goes away and the thing you said you thought got ignored helped, and I've been the one who reaches out to people who've done that to me, like when I was just stubborn and didn't listen, and I've hung up them later and been like, oh man, I should have listened when you said that. But it stayed in my head though, so thanks for saying it.
I should have held on to those 7 Bitcoins I had that time.
Not the Hop 2 Bitcoin. That seems like that's been a mess. So the controversy with all that crap.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, I had a lot of friends give me a lot of advice that I didn't take. Eventually you're worse off for it, but then you become better off for realizing that you're worse off for not taking that advice.
Yeah.
I think that's a great part.
It's filtering it too, isn't it? Because you get some friends and they mean well, and their advice that they give you is probably good for some people, but it's not. Even though the road you're on, you're struggling, challenge. You want to stay on that road.
Yeah,
because I've had girlfriends who are all just like, come on, you're making good money in the writing and the advertising, and you could go back to it now, it's not too late. And you're like, but I'm not happy with that.
Okay, I don't know about that kind of advice. I don't think anyone should ever regret not taking advice where someone says, hey, I think you should stop doing that thing that brings you joy.
Yeah, that's what I try to say to them, but they can only see the pain that it's causing you, because of the ups and downs of comedy. So,
well,
Yeah, and you're like, man, well, what about last week when I did these gigs and I was having a great time? And they're like, yeah, but it's not every week, because they want like a sort of a
they want you to
stable life. They want to just roll around on a 6 or 10 enjoyment scale, whereas I'm happy to have like 10s and some -5s. It's rocky, but
your scale goes into the negatives. Ooh, that is rocky.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting better now as I've got older of understanding my moods, and it's impossible to control them. I don't have a keyboard to do that, but getting better management skills and stuff. But yeah, I had a few times when I blipped into the -5s when I was very, very depressed and hard to snap out of it. But I'm pretty good now at not allowing that to happen,
That's good.
But yeah, it's taken a long time.
What's your strategy for not allowing that to happen?
It's just sort of a lot of it is getting out in the world, and a lot of it's getting your body moving. I feel for me, it's like, so
you've been working out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't look like it, but I run a lot and I walk a lot.
You do?
Yeah, so sorry, not run. I don't know why I said that. I used to run.
Bullies, eh?
From the police. No, biking, I should say, like at the gym on the exercise. I used to run a lot at the gym, but I got my knees and wasn't good for them.
Mm-hmm.
So Yeah, when I do that, or basketball, I've been a bit sloppy with that lately, but when I get on a good run and I'm playing lots of social basketball and I'm going to the gym, I just feel better, like my brain, and you're interacting with people as well.
100.
It's social, and then you realize, hey, all this negative stuff in my head, people like me, people can see good things in me, there is good things in me, but if I'm in a room by myself for too long, I've got the most neggy brain. It just sits there and pulls itself apart sometimes, and I'm like, man, I cannot do that for an extended period of time. Like I need to kind of, as soon as that happens, get out into the world and, you know, stop doing like a 5-hour review of every mistake I've made in my bedroom.
That's such an important
on a Saturday night.
realize.
It's not a good night, you know. Like
I think you sort of touch on like a notion that I really kind of you know I've been thinking more and more about lately, about the interconnectedness of us in society. You know, and we're very sheltered from like the way the world actually works, you know, like, and so we've got these, like, we forget, like, there's a garbage man that picks up our garbage. And I don't care if anyone thinks that's sexist, because like 99.99% of those dudes are men.
it is a dude mostly.
And so you know, like, I think like you rely on them to take your garbage away. They don't take your garbage away, your house is going to stink, right?
There's been garbage trucks all over the world, and it screws up the whole city.
And so, like, we don't realize how dependent we are on each other. So when we get in our little
100%.
bubbles, especially our creative bubbles, you know, where we're sitting in the editing suite, like me, for example, or you're sitting there writing for hours and hours and hours on end, and then you start to get depressed, and you start to get tizzy, and then you start to get entitled, and then you start to have these mindsets. What you're doing in those moments is you're getting mentally, you're getting further and further away from the rest of society.
That's a good way of looking at it.
And then what happens when you go to basketball and play social basketball is, oh, look, here I'm coming back. You know, Tim and Brad and Joe and Jessica and all that in my basketball team, we're all going to get together and we're all going to have fun and work as a team on to achieve something. And lo and behold, when you get back home, you've been exercising, you've been ultra social, you've been problem solving with other human beings to try and win a game of basketball, and you feel damn good about it. Well, that's because we're actually all interconnected, right?
100%.
And one of the things about politics that's really been killing me is
kind of thing,
exactly. It's just how little people realize that no, you actually rely on those people that you disagree with.
You can't just dismiss them. Like, I hate it when people just go, oh, he's right wing, or he's alt-right, or she's this, or she's far left, and they don't even want to talk to them. And you're like, you probably find some common ground if you've sat, you know what I mean? It sounds dumb, but even if you start talking about ice cream or something that we all like, and then you branch out and you realize they're a human being, you're a human being, you're not going to agree with everything, but there's going to be some stuff that'll bring you together, you know?
Like, exactly. You know, that nurse over there that you disagree with, well, she saved your lawyer's life.
Exactly.
You know?
Like, we all help each other. Funny, just quickly, when you said the garbage man thing, I did that job for a real brief period of time in New Zealand.
I think I read that.
For like 3 months or 4 months or something, and then the knees started getting a bit, you know, not so great. But man, you like, I haven't done a lot of manual labor, but when you do it, you're like, oh wow, these guys and girls work really, really hard, and they're not like tourists like me who've done it for a few months here and there. Like, that's their day in day life, and you have extra respect for it because it's an intense way to live. If you're not a naturally physical person like me, I'm like, whoa, because you're getting up at 5 a.m. in the morning, the weather sucks, you're jumping in and off the truck, throwing it in there, you got nappies on your back, and like, I fell over a few times, and the old mate driving the garbage truck, he's just so used to it, he just tooted the horn. No sympathy. He's like, come on man, get up. He just did not give a fuck.
That's funny.
But then you get in.
I would pay to see that.
I wish I'd had video of it.
That would have made a good YouTube clip.
But as soon as we had Smoko and stuff, he was like, "You all right with the fall?" He's like, nice big Kiwi Samoan guy, and he was like, "You all right, bro? Like, are you okay? Sorry, we just had to get going with some Panadol." And, you know, just being real cool. But just in the moment, he's work. You know, like, we got to get going.
Yeah, that's funny. That's so funny.
But no, you get paid pretty well too. Those
think
jobs.
About shit jobs.
Yeah, I've had loads over the years.
What's the shittest job you've ever had?
That's I wouldn't even say that is up there, even though people think about it, because I felt so fit and alive after every shift. Like I stank and I had to shower and stuff, but I felt so good physically. So it gave me a lot of endorphins.
Good.
And they paid me pretty well. Like, for that kind of job, you get time and a half and stuff a lot and that. So the money was good.
Yeah.
You'd finish in the afternoon, so it's all good. I've delivered newspapers with my dad as the most embarrassing job I ever have at age 35. That's a long story, but the gist of it was I moved back home for a little bit and I just needed like some sort of a job and I was just struggling for a bit. My dad was on my case. He's like, dude, you just got to get something. There was an ad in the paper for a delivery person. Anyway, I rang the guy up and the job was basically delivering community newspapers and like New Zealand's equivalent of Bunnings Warehouse and stuff like that. And the area they gave me, because they assumed I'm an adult, we'll give him the biggest area, the small areas to the 14-year-olds. And I just said yes. I didn't have a car, didn't have a bike. I was planning to do it on foot. I don't know what I was thinking. And Dad he saw me try to do it one day and I took forever because I had to keep coming back home to fill up the bag. And he's like, look, just hold on to the job, but I'm going to help you out or whatever, but you got to find something else. And I dragged my feet for ages and him and me were like delivering newspapers. He'd doing the left side, I'm doing the right. And at one point he said, and it's stuck in my head and I'll say it on stage sometimes, he goes, got to be the world's only father and son paperboy team whose combined age is over 100. And he wasn't laughing though, like even though it was a money line, he was like angry when he said he said, these are my golden years and you're pissing all over them.
That's so funny, bro.
But no, it was a funny chapter, but it was a miserable experience because you're in the car with your old man and he's trying to retire and he hates your guts. And man, I was just like, what was I doing?
Oh, yeah. Man. Yeah, how do your folks feel about you doing stand-up and stuff?
They've it's almost like they've grown to accept it, so you know how you might have like
They'll learn to love you.
You might have a girlfriend or a partner or whatever and they don't like them initially and then you marry them and they're like, all right, I guess I've got to be friends with them. Like that's how they treat you stand-up. It's like, I guess it's allowed in the door, as long as it takes its shoes off and so they're not keen, but they've become pretty supportive now through just me wearing them out, I guess. So but my dad is always proud when I get kind of stuff that's adjacent to stand-up. So I had like a big corporate gig recently, and he loves that. I mean, one, you get paid a lot of money, and two, it's his world, business world.
Nice.
And he loved that. Just was like kept asking me about it, and he's told all his friends and stuff. If I have like a good gig at a comedy club, he doesn't care. He's like, oh yeah, whatever, But if I have like a corporate adjacent thing, he's like, I told Roger, and he said this is excellent, and he's got some connections back home. And
I think that's
so weird.
That's great. I think they're not gonna love everything we do.
For sure, yeah.
And so like if they love a bit of it,
of course.
Yeah, give me that. I'll take that.
Of course. And I think to be fair, when I do get like a decent gig that pays a bit, or like in comedy, or like a festival goes well, and I can show him some hard proof of some reviews and some comments and a big crowd and things like that, then he's very good. But he doesn't care if like I had a good open mic and here's a little clip from it. He's just which is fair.
I used to have to wipe your ass. What are you showing me this shit for? He's probably thinking that.
Pretty much. And that's a good metaphor because, like, trying out something, and I might, even though it might go well, in his mind, it's like there's 6 people, it's a Tuesday, this is not reality in his mind.
Yeah.
But if you got a clip to 100 people and they're well dressed and they look like proper adults.
Yeah.
Because he will say that. He'll go, this is the first crowd you've played to where they look like proper human beings. Because if he sees a bunch of guys in Hawaiian shirts and beards,
grey guys,
he doesn't care what they think.
That's funny. That's funny.
He says they're not proper adults.
I think I saw a clip of or an Instagram post where you were talking about doing a gig at the back in a tent in the back of an African restaurant.
Yeah. That's a Footscray gig, and you just one of these hilariously odd situations, but you just got to roll with it and have a bit of fun. And again, like about the thing I said before, appreciate it. Like I'll make fun of it, but I'm also, hey, I'm glad to be here. This is cool. Like there's people, I'm having fun, and you don't want to just shit on it with no humor and just hostility. It's fun. It's good.
Well, yeah. It goes back to your point before about treating every show like it's the Tonight Show or whatever they're called, Jimmy Kimmel or whatever the fuck it is. Yeah, it's interesting.
I mean, it's hard to do because we're all human beings, and I've seen like guys and girls who do set a high level for themselves, and every now and again they just can't do it. I mean, there's like 5 people. It's a weird environment, and even their professionalism fades, and theirs is on nearly 100% of the time. So
nice.
Everyone's got a limit because
you can't be on 100% of the time.
Yeah,
you can't.
Yeah, life grinds you down, and situations and things. It's hard to be,
If you're on 80% of the time, you're elite. You're a weapon.
Yes.
In my book.
Yeah, definitely.
In my book.
I feel like that's a high hit rate for sure. Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that put a lot of pressure on themselves.
Yes.
And you know what they do is they put that same pressure on others too.
Yeah.
And they don't realize it.
Definitely. You can just sense, it's like I'm very sensitive with tension and stuff in comedy rooms. And then you can sense it sometimes. There's that vibe of, and I get it, so I'm not having a go. Sometimes there's that vibe of them. It's like, oh, I'm hanging out with these dickheads again. And they kind of want to bring order to it.
I'm hanging out with one of these dickheads. I am one of these dickheads.
Yeah, they should be thinking, the best ones think that, even though they might be less of a dickhead, they think, hey, we're all dickheads, we're all having fun. But you do get those ones and they want to impose order and they want to and it's like, man, it's not it's just an open mic. Obviously try, but, we're not saving the planet here, it's calm down kind of thing.
That's funny.
But yeah, no, it's an interesting life.
Most embarrassing job you've ever had. Wow.
Paper
boy. Wow, that's it. Oh, that's a good one. I had this embarrassing job once.
Yeah.
I worked at a strip club as a busboy.
Oh, that'd be cool though.
I was 19.
I'm envious already.
I'm not sure about that. I like women, right?
Yeah.
But when you sort of sit in a room, when you're in a room like that and you're sort of watching these girls dance for money, while guys are yelling.
Yeah, there's a toxic, 100%
some pretty
toxic side.
rotten things at them, yelling.
Yeah, that's no
it was a gross, it wasn't a fancy strip club. It was one of those rank ones.
Sleazy ones.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm losing respect for these chicks because they're literally just being yelled at for cash. I can't do that. I can't cop that. So I quit, right?
Yeah.
But it took me 3 weeks to quit that job.
Yeah, because there's a bit of perks, I guess.
No, there was no perks. Trust me, I wasn't into it at all.
Oh, okay.
I just needed a job. I was kind of oh yeah, boobs, great.
Yeah.
There they are again.
Yeah, you'd become immune.
Yeah, exactly. But one of the things that they used to get me to do was wipe the poles.
Oh, wild, yeah.
So chicks would be up there naked,
sweaty,
full butt naked, whipped cream all over themselves and stuff. And at the end of the show, they used to be right up, you're up. And I'd be oh, fuck. I'm carting cartons of beer up 3 flights of stairs.
Oh, yeah.
All night. Up and down, up and down,
physical,
up and down.
yeah.
And when she's finished that cream show, I'm there. I've got to get the spray and wipe out. And I've got to wipe that pole down. And that was demeaning. That was some, seriously demeaning
cleaning
shit.
jobs, I've done a few of them, and you do feel demeaned, don't you? Yeah, especially in that environment, for sure. Yeah.
I've cleaned stuff before. I've cleaned women's toilets, men's toilets. I've cleaned shit off the floor.
Yeah.
Cleaning up a stripper pole with cream on it is probably the most demeaning.
Yeah.
It's kind of because, they just I just rubbed my entire body all over that pole. Now you got to clean it up for me. Yeah. Because it's I've just been swinging on that pole, getting yelled at, being called a slut or whatever it is.
Yes, yeah.
But at least someone's got a worse job than me right now.
Yeah. There's always there's a hierarchy in anything. Eh? Yeah. It's
it's all right, I'm the guy that they look to that's got the worst job than them. Okay, it's time for me to leave. It's not my finest hour.
Yeah, strip clubs.
My audience needed to know about that.
They're fun, but there is a negative side. I got into this period, you sparked an idea, was so when I was in New Zealand, have you been to Queenstown?
I've never been to New Zealand.
Oh, you haven't? Yeah. Some Aussies
close.
haven't, which is fair enough. If you're going to travel, why not go somewhere more exotic? But yeah, it's Queenstown's a little tourist
Sounds
town.
exotic. You look at New Zealand and you're like, that's the Norway of the South.
Yeah, no, I mean maybe exotic. Yeah, you're right. Exotic's a bad choice of words. I
With
mean
less hot women.
Somewhere,
Sorry.
that's true. Somewhere further away, and the culture's more different to your culture is a lot what people want from travel. But anyway, I'm in Queenstown. And we used to have these gigs there, and we would do them. And sometimes it'd be like off season, and the tourists went around, and it was a bit dead. And me and my mates would be like, where are we going to go? And so there was these strip clubs that were the only ones that were open for ages.
The ones with your magazine in them.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there with my mate, and it'd always be it's not a racial thing, it's just a fact. There'd always be one weird Indian dude. On the off nights, it would be me, my mates, and one weird Indian dude who wanted to be your best mate.
There's one weird Indian dude guarantee at a strip club.
Yeah, they love it. They're good dudes. But
they're always respectful.
Nice guys. So we were there all the time and stuff, and then it got to the point where these two lovely British girls there became pretty friendly with them and stuff, in a cool way and stuff. And then what they would do was every now and again they'd see our posters and they would send us a photo, and they'd be like, use it as a promo as you want. You got these two banging girls, and it's got a poster of my dumb face eating Maccas on one of them, just as a silly thing. And they're looking all hot and stuff. And you got all your mates messaging your classic comedians going, are those girls going to be at the show? And asking that. And then they'd tell their friends, there's no way those girls are showing up, but it would be a good foot in the door.
Yeah. Oh, you just missed them.
Yeah. Just damn. Yeah, they were here 5 minutes ago.
That's funny.
So that happened, and then I'll tell you the story. It's quite good. It's so one of my mates, massive boozer from comedy, and almost problematic level, but proper problems and stuff. But he's kind of trying to sort it out now, which is great. Anyway, so we're doing these shows, blah blah blah, and we're in a camper van, and we're all in this camper van, and we've had enough. We've wiped out and stuff. And he had been sleeping for ages, the whole day basically. And he taps me on the shoulder. I'm fast asleep. And he's like, what's going on? And I go, what do you mean what's going on? We're sleeping. And he goes, what about the gig? And he'd slept through the entire gig. And I go, you slept through it? And he goes, why didn't you wake me up? And I go, we all tried. And he goes, what time is it? And I was like, oh. And I get my phone, and it's midnight or something. And he's like, oh, I can't believe you woke. And like it was my fault. And I go, dude, we were shaking you. And he was like, oh, let's go do something. And I go, oh, I'm tired. And he goes, I just got paid. He got paid from his day job and stuff. So we go down, we eat this massive pizza, and there's nothing really open. And we go to the strip club, and those girls are there, and they like me because I'm not creeps them, friendly and nice. And they're like, hey, Dan, blah, 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 it's an off night. Oh, I love it when you're here, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, this is my mate and that. And they're like, oh, yeah, he's cool. Everything's going fine, right? And then they go, do you want to do some body shots? And we can do them in the room. So it's just a way to get you in the room, but you're not paying the full cost. And I'm like, hell yeah, stoked kind of thing. And he's like, hell yeah. So we get the little, the tray and everything. We go in that room, bras come off, the panties come off, and they're pouring it on themselves. And we're licking it off them, and it's great, 10 out of 10 experience.
Ooh.
But guess what old mate does? He goes, this isn't tequila. And I'm like, shut up, dude. Who cares what it is? Just enjoy the sweet tasting titties and stuff. And I'm like, shut up. And the girls let him roll with it for a bit, and they just pretended they didn't hear it. And then he said it again, and he stood up, and he goes, this is bullshit. We ordered tequila shots, and this is lime cordial. And the girls are like, oh, we didn't make it, and tried to bring his head back down, because they like me, kind of just being my mate. Your friend's a bit of a dickhead, but and he goes, no, we're going to the bar to get the tequila. And I'm like, oh my God. And they put their clothes back on, and we go to the bar, and this is how wild this mate of mine was. We get the real tequila, and then obviously the mood's changed. It's terrible. And then he goes, all right, we'll go back in the room then. And the girls are like, obviously no way. And then their little minder came along, and she's like this cool, but don't want to mess with her butch, huge lesbian chick, and gave me a look and him a look if you don't let go of that girl's hand, because he had one of them by the hand, I will break your hand off kind of a vibe. And he was that sort of cooked. He still hadn't picked up these social cues. And I go, dude, like that. And then he finally got it. And then the girl's arms folded, and they're like, well, we're going to go play pool. I'm like, man. And the whole walk back, he still didn't kind of get it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a problem, man. When you've got an alcoholic friend that can't appreciate licking something off a naked woman's body. And I have to try and
booze came first that high, just a shitty shot too. And then the next day, I told him all about it when he had like fully sobered up, and he was kicking himself, hey. And I showed him because he couldn't even really remember them, and I showed him the photos.
Really?
And he's like, "Those girls, which one was I with?"
Bro, that sounds so bad.
And I was like, "The blonde one." And I go, "Like, you with the blonde one, that one?" And he goes, "What? What's this? Oh, could we go back tonight?" And I go,
"Man, that's so bad.
You idiot, Like,
that's so bad. Alcohol's a problem, yeah. Alcohol is a problem.
It's crazy. Yeah. But he seems like he's slowly getting back on the right track, which is good. Like, but man, wild times. When it's that much of a priority.
You've given me some insight into like what I read in that article was like, I think she opens up by saying something about like your life has been, you live a colourful life or something like that. Lots of stories of balls and cocks and balls or whatever it is that she says.
Oh wait, I should correct. I just forgot for a second. My mate did that one. Guy called Michael Botur. Yeah.
Did he wrote that?
Yeah, but
Sorry, he would have had it was like written by a chick.
It took me a while to remember the article, but like, I think his editor kind of snuck in and who was it, lady, and did bits and bobs of it, that kind of thing.
Yeah, there were some undertones in there.
Yeah,
judgy.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah,
I don't think a guy would write some of those.
It's
position some of those questions like that.
It's a wild lifestyle, and I think not everybody approves. I guess,
yeah,
which is fair.
No, I mean, it's part of the fun, isn't it? I'm kind of curious about like the enjoyment of the wild side of comedy.
Yeah.
Versus the desire to strive and eventually break through and out.
Yes.
Of like. Like Dave Chappelle clip recently was like, it's very hard to stay out of trouble as a famous person. When you're not famous, you got to go out and look for trouble. When you're famous, trouble comes looking for you.
Yeah.
And then he makes this
a good quote,
killer joke about it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because at some point in his career, he broke through to that side where that to be on your game and like to be doing the shows,
of course,
like you got to somewhat quell the bad boy inside of you.
Yeah,
sort of kick this. And so like sometimes I look at certain people and I think to myself, oh no, you're addicted to being to this grime.
It can become addictive
because you love the dirty, grimy shit of it. Like
I call it goonery. Goonery,
yeah. I think you called it that in the article, goonery.
Yeah.
You love the goonery. And I found myself in that position too. It's like, all right, now it's time to, I've collected a lot of stories.
Yes.
And so many that I've forgotten some of them. Obviously, they're not that important to me.
Yeah. But you've had the fun, which is the good thing.
I've had the fun. Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, that kind of level fun needs to be sacrificed at some point.
Yeah, if it's getting in the way, if you can just do it every now and again, when you got time off and it's not going to interfere, for sure.
Yeah.
But if that becomes your reason to do comedy is the goonery and the after party, then for sure you're not doing the right thing. Yeah, so it's the balance of it and that for sure. Like I watched a little clip of this. Remember the Charlie Sheen stuff? I watched the clip of that
Charlie Sheen
the other night. You need a refresher every now and again. I've forgotten some of the details.
I got one. I posted one the other day.
Oh,
I
nice.
reposted one the other day of him in an interview.
Insane, that kind of thing. That's when it goes off the rails.
God, we need people like Charlie Sheen though in our lives.
Just a bit of spark, for the news cycle. But no, he just went absolutely too far, and he seems
what did he do again? I can't remember, by the way, so I don't want to be judged for saying that.
It got too gnarly. It got to the point where like every second girl like had saying he was assaulting them and stuff, so you know what I mean. It was like to the point where it was like he's having fun initially, he's with hot girls, drinking, taking drugs, but then it had the nasty side. And then he was trying to fight people, and he just became uncontrollable to the point where like it wasn't a fun party anymore; it was a bad buzz, and
Oh, God bless that man. I think this has been good. I'm enjoying this chat.
Yeah, no, I'm enjoying it too. It's a nice mix of kind of like some nice little serious bits, and then just a little bit of playfulness. I like that because I've got the type of brain where it's like I do think goofy stuff, but every now and again I try and analyze as well. So, I like the balance. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. And thanks for being here.
Yeah,
How
no, I
did you find
appreciate
out
it.
about this again?
From Collier.
Collier?
Yeah, because Sean had chopped up some nice clips a while back, and I'm like, oh, this looks really good. And then it kept popping up on my thing.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes you just, you don't want to, like, jump on something unless, your mate says, like, he's your mate, and he's my mate, and he's like, no, he'll be sweet. You know what I mean? Like, I don't always approach people unless, gotten in or something.
Oh, that's funny, yeah. Like, you know
Sometimes I do. If I'm just extra keen, I'll just go, hey, I'm Dan. Is it all good? If not, no stress, kind of
throw
thing.
caution to the wind.
Yeah.
Put yourself out there.
For sure, yeah.
I think, Caleb Island did that. After I
Yeah,
released
he's
the
good like
episode
that,
with
yeah.
with
I like
Sean,
Caleb, yeah.
he was like, hey, man, just message me out of the blue.
Yes,
He
yeah.
was like, saw your episode with Sean. Love what you're doing. And it wasn't videoed. What he'd seen was just like some of the photos that I put up of us here in the laneway.
Yeah.
He goes, love the vibe.
Cool.
Like, can I do it with you?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yes, of course. I love that. I love people approaching me, asking me if, like, they,
That's
telling me
good,
they want to be part of this. I want to tell stories. I want to, for my audience, I want to tell stories about, different stories from people that have lived the life that they haven't.
Yes,
And the things
sure.
that they've learned. And I think, you're really great at sort of talking through your experience.
Oh, thanks very much. Yeah.
And talking about it in, like a fond way,
Yeah, I try to have fun with it. Yeah. It's got some regrets, but at least they're like in my mind now in a way where like, hey, I learned something from it. It was kind of funny, and so it's getting that distance. I feel sometimes from certain things. It's like sometimes when you're in the moment, even though it could be very funny later on, at the moment it's not funny. You haven't removed yourself enough from it to see the humor or the pathos or whatever vibe you're going for.
Yep.
So yeah, it's good like that. But no, Caleb's got. I like his mindset. He's a go-getter. He's putting himself out there, and he's a charming young guy. And so
he is.
He's likable. He doesn't do it in a push. Some people do it in a pushy kind of. They mean well, but they just go a little bit too hard. It's like pump the brakes. But he's got exactly the right way of kind of putting himself out there in a nice way. Yeah.
No, he's a good guy. Yeah, Caleb.
Yeah.
Actually, I've met nothing but good guys, but I think maybe it's just the good guys that are responding to me.
For sure, yeah. If you've got it's that whole thing. It's a bit of a cliche, but it is true. If you're putting out a good vibe, you often have it returned. I feel, yeah.
I've been told that a few times lately. Actually, you give out a good vibe. You got good energy. Like Joe White said that to me. I was like, that's great.
Oh, he's great too. He's
that's
a cool guy.
That's a compliment.
Yeah.
Like that's a nice thing to be recognized for. That you're putting out good energy. It's nice,
100%.
This is what I'm trying to do here. This is what this project is about,
Yeah, and then like comics are quite vulnerable too. So it's like if they feel that like someone's, we're all such head cases. If someone's gonna like real intensely grill them, some people love that. They love that back and forth. But a lot of comics just want to be softballed, I suppose. So
yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I had a recording recently where I was called up 2 days later and said, I don't think we can release all that stuff.
Oh, like they had regrets of what they said.
Yeah,
and stuff.
You just made me feel too comfortable, and I just said some things that I don't think I want people to hear.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's annoying, eh? Like.
Yeah, that's a challenge. That was a challenge, because obviously the production side of this takes quite a bit of energy. So
yeah, fully. You do get that. That's happened to me with things too, where someone's just, everybody manages their image or whatever differently to others, and some people are like, they don't want to be too like. I'm such an open book, which I enjoy. It's got its downsides, but that's just how I roll. But that's not for everyone. And then sometimes if you've got an open book energy, they will start bringing that too.
Yeah,
because we all sort of try and share the same vibe when you're doing something.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh man, I had to think about it, and no, it's just I don't want all that out there, and I get it, and I'm respectful of it, but it can be annoying when you've done a whole bunch of stuff on, and you're like, like.
So I don't care what you say after this.
Yeah.
If you text me and say, hey, listen, we're not releasing that, I'm going to say tough titties, baby.
I'm not that guy, so yeah. I'm the guy who gets the opposite message where, hey Dan, like that was fun today, but it was a little bit loose. Do you want to look it over before?
Really? Really?
Just
people
cautious.
Say that?
Just cautious people. Yeah.
People so worried about their image.
Yeah.
You know what the and like
yeah.
I'm a bit of an anti-corporate, right?
Oh,
what
nice.
the corporate world has done is it's sanitized humanity.
Oh yeah.
To this point where I'm like, I'm repulsed by some of the fakeness that's out there in this world. It grosses me out. And the sanitized,
100%.
To the point where people on X and Twitter and that, they're like, oh, these views are my views and not the views of my company. People have to do have to have that fucking disclaimer in their fucking bio so that, their company doesn't fire them for some of the things that they say. They'll probably still fire them anyway. But, one of the things that I absolutely loathe about our planet is how we've let both corporations and governments govern the things that come out of our mouths. And most of which are actually true.
Yeah, you should be able to speak your mind as just an individual, but it's becoming harder and harder for people in those positions. Like when I've done when I was talking about the advertising stuff and all that kind of stuff, I was still doing comedy, but at early stages, and there was a real vibe of kind of like, oh, hey, can you, not put that out there because people know you work for us. And I was like, wasn't anywhere near the face of it because I'm writing ads. I'm not on air. I'm not, I'm anonymous to the public, but they're just real paranoid about,
public perception.
Yeah.
Public perception.
It's weird. Yeah.
We want you to be squeaky clean like a hospital toilet.
Yeah, and it's almost like they don't
smell like that fucking domestos or whatever the fuck it is.
Just blend into the background and but it was weird too because you're just kind of like it's almost like they didn't want you having fun outside of there. They wanted, this is, you would have heard this a lot, it's just like that whole thing of like they want you to like the job so much that's your entire life and they can't handle it that
makes sense.
Got something else going on and you're like,
it's true.
It's wrong. Like, I'm turning up to work, I'm getting the job done. Who cares what I do outside? And
because I've got nothing else going on in my life, I feel like a loser. I don't want you to have anything going on in your life.
It's envy and it's strange. I mean, you met a lot of good people in that environment too that were the opposite. Were like, let's come see your show and real positive and happy. But you'd get a lot of higher ups and they just didn't like it. It was just.
What was interesting at the end of that article that you sent me was that the writer or the editor was like, here's a list of Kiwi comedians that are doing really well abroad.
Yes.
And there was like maybe 8 or so of them.
Yeah.
Names I'd never heard of before because I don't really follow the comedy scene that closely.
For sure, yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
But I was reading through them.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, these people have like just grabbed life by the balls.
Yeah.
And
it's like Melanie Brass was in there. She's doing super, super well. And I forget who else was in it. Was Guy Montgomery or people like that? Like proper people who are, like my dad would call them proper adults. Proper
grown-ups. Proper grown-ups.
Proper grown-ups.
Not like us doing a podcast in the laneway. But, I think... I was reading through, I remember one of them, and it was like, this guy, he's not famous in New Zealand, but he's famous in Sweden.
Al Pitcher, yeah.
That one got me. I was like, I fucking love that. That reminded me of...
It's kind of a cool story, yeah.
Rodriguez. That reminds me of the Rodriguez story, Sugar Man.
The muso guy, yeah. His story is wild, eh?
Sugar Man.
He was so cool. Yeah,
massive in South Africa.
Yeah, South Africa. That
huge,
was it. That was
huge in South Africa. For decades, didn't even know it.
He was a labourer during the day, and he'd kind of given up music, hadn't he? Yeah.
They loved him. They loved him.
But he had
there.
a massive following in South Africa.
And he disappeared, and so they were like, "Where's Rodriguez gone?" Meanwhile, he had no idea.
Yeah,
that people were like, "Can we get this guy back?"
It's so cool, and he was such a pretty likable, low key dude too.
I saw the Sugar Man documentary.
Yeah, so good. Yeah,
very good. I highly recommend it to anyone that hasn't seen it yet.
It's great.
But that's what that New Zealand. What's his name?
Al Pitcher.
Al Pitcher.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He one of them dudes.
I think Sweden. Maybe I should move this podcast to
Sweden.
Sweden.
Move it to Sweden. I think it was like one of them guys who was like killing it in the London scene, and he might have met a Swedish lady or something. I don't know, but like he moved over there and he's doing comedy and
Swedish girls.
Oh, it's good, the best, some of the best. And then I remember seeing him during Comedy Festival, and he would do spots, and he was just a proper killer, just real seasoned club comic and. But yeah, Sweden, that is, you don't hear that very often, eh?
No, it's a niche.
It's definitely
that is niche. But I mean, like, for me, it fills me with joy. It fills me with, hope and optimism. It fills me with a lot of gratitude to hear that, we can find, success in unexpected places.
Yeah, you never know what's going to be your market or who's going to like your style. It's put yourself out there and hopefully someone digs it and you've found your little warehouse.
Yeah.
Like I'm from New Zealand, but I feel I'm not a New Zealand thing in the way that like my style does not suit New Zealand. It's quite a sleepy little place and I'm a bit of a wild goon and don't get me wrong, people liked it and stuff, but it's not going to be the market that I'd be famous in or something.
When are you going to go to the States?
It's definitely got to happen at some point, and I'd love to chase it, but it's just, being a proper adult, getting the money get there and just giving it a red hot
We've got to go back to revisit that comfort zones conversation.
Yes, that's what the next one is like for me, 100% is like, so this is...
If you don't think that New Zealand is your market, Melbourne's not your market, man.
It's probably not either, but it's like a bigger market where I can find more opportunity.
I don't think they're that much different. That's what I mean. Like,
yes,
I agree with you. It's 100%. A bigger market.
Yeah.
But like, I reckon you'd kill it in the States.
I feel
There's
like
something about you.
They would go. They like Kiwis and they like Aussies and they like kind of larrikins. They love Jim Jeffries and all that stuff. And so you'd probably. I would love to try it. There or London, because London loves the kind of crazy Kiwis and Aussies
does it?
too. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I saw on that list that I was talking about, like, this one done well in the UK. Like, pretty much everyone else was UK.
Yeah, UK is there and like, like
and there was one
Austin,
guy that
New
lived in
York,
Vegas.
place to go. Vegas.
That lived in Vegas.
Oh, wow, that's sick.
Yeah, so one guy on that list, what he did was that he was doing okay in New Zealand.
Yeah.
He must have at some point taken this risk and gone onto the show America's Got Talent in 2016.
Oh, cool.
And he was a finalist. And so this Kiwi comedian has gone to the States, got on that show, become a finalist, and now he just performs in Vegas all the time.
Whoa, my memory's forgotten who this guy is, or maybe. I'll look it up because that's a cool story. Yeah.
Sam Willis.
Oh yes,
Sam Willis,
the boy with tape on his face. Yeah. He's got like a real unique act, like it's a mime type comedy.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's kind of very creative and circusy in a way. But that's maybe me saying that with my lack of knowledge of comedy that's outside of the parameters of just telling jokes. Like with your voice and not your full body and that.
One of the things that I sort of have come to realize about some of the greatest practitioners in their field, like Tarantino, for example. I was just listening to a JRE episode with Tarantino and Roger Avery, one of the recent episodes.
Yeah.
And, Tarantino is an insane student of film.
Oh, he's obsessed.
Like, he's an encyclopedia.
Yeah.
And he probably wouldn't give himself that kind of credit, but he just knows the film. He knows the director. He knows the producers of the film.
A guy who's in it for 30 seconds because he was in 6 other kung fu movies or whatever. Like he's like that. That's James Joyce or whatever. Not James Joyce, Irish author. Obviously not him, but he's some guy and he'll know his whole fucking Wikipedia and he's like a bit player. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
How much of being a comedian do you think involves researching other comics? Like, and I'm not talking about current comics. I'm talking about the comics of old. I'm going all the way back to Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, I think that's real key. And one of the ones that we're all guilty of sometimes not doing it enough is just like that constant diet of just watching all the comedy from all over, different styles, different eras, and like I've got some mates and I need to sort of do this, it's quite good. They'll go sort of see stuff that's adjacent to comedy and they get inspired and idea.
Improv and stuff.
Yeah, or just clowning or like theatre, like one-man shows, one-woman shows, just or they're like real, like I'm a bit of a music junkie. I love music.
Me too,
and I don't know if it rubs off on my performance, but it might do. I don't know. Like I love watching how the front man or front woman performs, and then sometimes you take little bits from it and stuff, like, so you can find inspiration from a variety of things. And I read all the time, so that, and I feel like the more you're filling your brain with it, the better. And it's when you take too much time off from that you're not coming up with new angles because you're just listening to your own voice. So it's good to kind of,
Yeah, are you spending much time like researching other comics? Like I know like
I should do more of it for sure, but I binge it. So sometimes I'll be like watching all these new comics and then I'll, dip back in the past, watch some old school stuff. But sometimes because I've watched so much over the years, I'm guilty of every now and again having a few months off almost.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm like, oh no, you kind of got to keep abreast of it because the game's always changing and leveling up, and you might not know it, but all of a sudden you've been a bit hacky and old school. So
He's
got a fan. He's got a fan. Hey, Dan, nice to meet you.
Louis the rock star.
Yes, Louis the rock star.
And I'm telling you, this gentleman, we're very lucky to have him in this laneway.
Definitely.
His energy is beautiful.
He's a very lovely man. He makes you feel chill and relaxed. And
without him here, then I'm worried. Then when he's not here, I come here. Because today's my day off.
It's Temps. Good to see you, brother.
It's my day off today, sorry.
No, you're right.
Day off,
yeah.
And I'm going to have a nice little lunch.
Nice.
On my own, because I love my own company.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Self-love.
Did you like the graffiti I did? See how
Did you do all this?
Temp, you've tagged the shit out of this laneway. Wow.
From the corner.
It's art. Classic.
It's not tagged, it's art.
This is, mate, the new word is on the street. The new general, mate.
The new general. Street general of Hosier.
How much paint have you gone through?
I'm getting sponsored next year by a lot of international companies and also here. So we need, do your interview, because I said to you those things, we need to talk next year.
Yes.
I've got something.
You've got my, we're connected.
I know that, but listen.
You've got my number.
To the corner, I did some stuff up there and then over here.
Okay.
But the thing is,
I might steer away from that corner. It's sketchy as.
I know that, but this is where I've come today to check.
We'll need
what's
security.
going on, to see if they're following the instructions. Because what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing it, guys. I'm doing it for this reason. I want this laneway has been here since 1980 for everyone.
Yeah.
Not just for me, everyone.
Yeah.
Internationals.
You're the general though.
No, but I've worked so hard behind the scene with this man.
Yeah.
Because he plays a part too, trust me.
For sure, yeah.
And other people too. To bring it for the tourists, for you,
me,
and every kid and every international police presence. The living room does a great job. These 3 restaurants do a good job. So eventually, with all the hard work we do, the general here has come up with a plan.
I love the general, it's so good.
And I'm gonna have to get City or Mayor involved. Nick, I'm
Okay.
sure he'll be willing to help.
Yeah.
Other organisations, so we can do something beautiful here every year, once a year.
Like a Christmas in the laneway.
It's
Yes.
going to be a little bit different than that.
That'll be
Okay.
wild.
Because
Yeah.
it's about more about him, you, me, the kids, and the
Okay,
international
let's do it.
too.
Yeah.
Sounds
So
good.
that way, because it's all about creativity.
For sure,
You
yeah.
don't know what the other person's going through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My father, I'm going to share something with you.
Well, we're mid-recording, Peter.
Yeah? My father's in ICU,
Okay.
and I've come out of there and I met this beautiful person.
Yeah.
And he said to me, Peter,
A nurse or no?
No.
Oh,
you know, and he said to me, Peter,
Biking.
he said to me, Peter, I've got your back. My father's here too.
oh, nice. That's
Just let
cool.
your father,
Yeah.
you know, have a good day with him.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm doing.
That's
I
nice.
bought
Yeah.
chocolates for the nurses. They love
Oh,
it.
good guy. Yeah.
I did everything for them. I even go and talk to the other patients. And you know, the most important thing is that we're here alive.
Yes,
That's
for
all I
sure.
That's true.
Yeah, 100%.
That's true.
All right?
Thank you. Thanks for saying hi.
Nice to meet you. Yeah.
No, it's all good.
This interview is going to be even more special
Oh,
because it's an electric.
Temps.
energy in
Yes.
the LA.
you got the general on there, so
You got the general. We
It's good
captured the
stuff.
general. Thank you, Peter.
nice to meet you.
All right. I'll see you soon.
Good energy.
We
good
just
vibe.
got- thank you.
We got generaled.
Yeah, we got general. Oh, yeah, Peter. He's a character.
He's a wild guy. Eh?
Yeah, I think he's going to be doing a few cameos on this
Oh,
podcast.
I like it. That adds
now.
to the kind of. I like kind of wacky stuff like that, though. Yeah.
Yeah, the beauty of the 360 camera is that I've captured all of that.
Oh wow, that's even. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So,
so you get the unexpected. Just I don't know. I find that kind of funny, but yeah, you did have the feeling that it could have been the Peter show.
Oh, well, like you've got to let them say their thing.
Yeah,
eh?
for
And there's
sure.
always editing and stuff that you
Of
can
course,
do.
yeah.
You don't want to sort of sanitize the episode too much with
Yes,
editing.
of course.
But I think, I had a chain of thought. I was thinking a little bit before about what I said. I didn't want it to come across like I was like, Melbourne's not your scene. But
no, I didn't get that. No,
Yeah,
I didn't
okay.
get it in a negative way. I could see what you're saying.
But,
Yeah,
like one of the things I was thinking about, like comedians in the United States, I feel like they're not governed by the fear. And because I don't know
Yeah.
much about UK comedy,
Yeah.
so it might be similar in that market too.
Yeah.
But I just don't feel like they're as much governed by the fear that some of
Yeah.
the comics have
I
here.
like that expression, governed by the fear. That's because that fully is a thing, yeah. And I got here like last year in August, and I got to admit, like when I first got here, it was a little bit kind of like, I was so worried about not kind of screwing up and like just getting on with everybody and all that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
which is all good stuff. But I did, for me, I was a bit tippy toe in terms of what I want to do comedically.
Yeah.
Now I'm feeling a bit more kind of like people like me. I'm getting on with everybody. I can kind of let my hair down if I had any and just let loose a bit more on stage. And then it's not going to be for everyone, but you got to be yourself and show people the most authentic version of yourself.
Yeah.
When I rein myself in too much, it's just you're not getting the experience that I want to have for me and for the crowd when it goes well.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I think because you see those comedians when they make it onto TV and stuff, and you can see that there's some like the rawness has been diluted.
Yeah, a lot of the edges get sanded off, and like I got two ways of looking at that. Like the old cynical me was what they're doing, very negative. But the
because
new
I'm not
me
using
is
I'm not using the word selling out.
Yeah. I know what you're saying, but it's like now the older I get, I'm just like, hey, look, we got to make money, we got to get a public presence, and I understand it, but at the same time, I don't know if I could ever do that. Or would they want me, of course, but at the same time, I get why they do it, but I find it so boring to watch, just being honest. And then I'll see them do a club set, and they're themselves, and I'm like, man, they're super funny, but they can't really do their full thing on TV because it's so PG, especially Aussie and Kiwi TV. It's very tame, it's super tame.
It's just, you know what? It doesn't do it for me anymore.
Yeah,
we
very
live in
soft,
this crazy good world of social media now.
Yeah.
Like YouTube's massive, TikTok's massive,
and that's not governed in the way that TV is. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And so it's basically like chalk and cheese watching comedy on like the shit you actually want to watch on YouTube. And then you put on like, Channel 7, like the Melbourne International Comedy Festival opening gala pieces, and you're just like,
and
it's like radio.
They're
it's
all
like
killers, but they're doing their most PG sanitized version. That's the thing that
and
sucks.
hurts. It hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts to watch. And so like, I feel like every single one of us has got to figure out a way.
Yeah.
And when I say us, I don't know why I just said us, like I'm including myself in this cohort.
No, but you're doing creative stuff too. Yes.
We need to find a way to make money off like Patreon or
alternative sources. Yeah. I mean, that's how all these, the stuff that you're talking about, the kind of people who are kind of putting it out there in their own weird and wild way, is they've figured out ways around it through podcasts, through Patreon, and internet presence and its various formats and stuff, and that allows them to do exactly what they want without having to fit into these tight little spaces that sands their edges off. And so that's the dream, isn't it? Like,
I saw that you're a fan of
Cumtown guys. Do you know those guys?
No, I don't.
It's a wild name, but these guys have this podcast called Cumtown, and it started off just literally, it's a hilarious name, and it just literally started off just three Baltimore comedians just talking absolute smack, just craziness, because they didn't care. It was just a bit of fun.
For sure.
And then their just insane looseness kind of got a following, and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And before you know it, they're living off Patreon, and they're doing bigger clubs, and now they're Starvey. You might know Starvey. He's like bald dude with glasses, big chubby guy, wears Hawaiian shirts. He's got a Netflix special, and the other guys are going on tour and selling out. But it literally, the germ of the idea was just three jaded comedians weren't getting the big stuff they wanted, and created their own space, and it grew into something.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
So they weren't governed. They weren't allowing themselves to just do the traditional route to success. Yeah.
Well, the traditional route to success was not them
Yeah,
being
yeah.
their authentic selves.
Totally, yeah. And they knew that, and they didn't try and.
And so their material was
yeah.
going to be shit, and therefore they weren't going to succeed because of that.
100%, yeah. Because
When they were their authentic selves and doing the actual material they want to do.
Yeah.
Oh, funny how like people are drawn to that.
People love it when people are real. Like even if they don't.
So true.
Even if they don't necessarily connect with every single joke when people are doing that, they like the fact, hey, this guy, this girl, this person is just letting it loose and doing their thing, and it's something very lovable about authenticity, because it's hard for all of us. Like I can be fake in life, we all can be fake, so it's great when someone just lets loose and just does their thing. And
that's so true. That's such a great point. You know, I was talking about
thanks.
how the corporate world has sanitized people, and then what's the flip side of that coin is an authentic person. And you said it exactly right just there. It's like people love authenticity.
Yeah,
we are so
100%.
drawn to it.
Yeah,
we're like magnetically drawn to authenticity.
Yeah,
when people are doing real shit, being their real selves, why are we drawn to it? It calls a part of inside of us.
Yeah,
because, you know, that makes us feel like we don't have to hide who we really are.
Yeah, because we're all, you know, in lots of situations in life where I can't say this, I can't say that, I need to keep this job and, you know, keep this relationship, all these different things.
To keep this life happening.
Yeah, keep this life going. That's why I think UFC is so popular, because, hey, because when the UFC guys do their interviews, a lot of them are just so raw.
Have you ever seen Derek Lewis's interview?
Oh, he's a madman. Yeah, he just...
My balls is hot.
His balls is hot and farts, and it's just... And people love it because they're just like, this guy doesn't care. He's just being himself. And even though he's a bit unhinged, sometimes people do still like Conor McGregor because he's just this raw lunatic who just does not filter himself.
Yeah, he's pretty Dublin, isn't he?
He's extreme.
Interesting.
And like Nate Diaz, I like, because he's just this crazy tough
straight
guy.
Out of Compton, or where is it? Oakland or Compton or
Stockton, California. And he's got that
from Stockton, California, motherfucker.
Like that little. The voice doesn't match how tough he is. It's sort of
the
this.
Second time Nate Diaz has been brought up on this podcast. Joe White brought him up because of my
he likes
surname.
him too. Yeah.
Just because of my surname, he was like, when I saw your name, I thought you were
one of the Diaz brothers.
It's funny, man. So, I mean, I guess we're 2 weeks away from 2025.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
like,
close to the finish line of this year.
We don't want to call it early, but looks like we're going to get there.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Toes as well.
And so what you got planned? What,
from now till the end of the year?
Yeah. I mean, you know, like moving forward in your life.
Forward.
You know, any big ambitions that you want to fulfill?
So next year I really want to kind of get around a bit more. Like this time, since I've been in Melbourne.
Get around who?
Come on, a lot of them. Since I've been like back in Australia since last year, I've just kind of stuck to Victoria. Like I've done like just floating around Melbourne, outer suburbs, and Bendigo, and what's the other one?
Ballarat.
I haven't done Ballarat since I've been here. Geelong, and there's a few.
Town. Yeah.
It's just like not much, dipping my toes outside.
Yep.
So I'm like, next year I'm like, I've got to get back, do some gigs in Sydney or Brisbane or somewhere, you know, just bounce around a bit.
Yep.
And then the next branch, obviously, like we were saying before, is like, and I don't want to keep mucking around on that one, is eventually get myself over to like London or America somewhere. And I mean, even if it's just a 2-week tour, just to tick that off first, and then move over when I can, you know, just start making plans for that. Because, you know, like I don't want to like all of a sudden I'm looking in the mirror, I'm 50 and I still haven't made the next move, which is...
Well, you've got to take the risk.
Yes.
You've got to do the thing.
Of course. I've got to get out of my comfort zone, go visit London or, you know, New York or wherever, you know, just do the first thing, do some gigs, get to know some people, and then if I like it, keep trying to make steps to move there somehow. Yeah.
I think you know this. Like, you can't leave this world without
having a go. Yeah.
You know, there's risks that you come back with your tail between your legs, broke, that you didn't succeed or whatever.
Yeah.
That's not even half as bad
as not trying.
Yeah,
100%. Like, I'd rather have a go and whatever doesn't work, and then, you know, lick my wounds and stuff, and then maybe have another go, you know, when I feel stronger, and you know, just keep trying. If it doesn't happen, but you got to try for sure. Like,
Yeah, and throw yourself like in those markets. Like I'd say the UK is probably quite similar to the US in that way.
Yeah.
In those markets where they sort of, they're a little more loose, I suppose.
Yeah, that's what appeals
where you
to me.
can really be like who you want to be.
Yeah.
Like, hey, listen, I'm doing this one show here. I'm never going to be back. I don't care who I offend.
Yeah.
Like
For
write your
sure.
best material and take it there and
Yeah.
go hard.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, no, I've definitely got to do it. It's just when you watch the clips, it's like when they have like a heckler or a rowdy situation or something, which I always see in my mind as potential lanes you could go to, but I often hold back even more in New Zealand because it's so soft, and here sometimes even because you're like, oh, it's going to be too hard edge for them, and so
But how do you know?
I'll do it every now and again, don't get me wrong, and it's just, you have your own instincts. You're like, I know that's pretty good, but it's just a little bit too. It'll do well, but I know it would go better in some place where they gave less fucks.
Yeah.
Like, because I've seen the clips of these guys and girls, and they're like, whoa, you can say that? You know what I mean? Just really roasting people.
Yeah.
And the culture seems freer with that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you can definitely do way more of that in Australia than New Zealand, which is why I like it.
Yeah.
Like, it can be, some nights it's awesome, you can just do whatever, but it's still, there's a ceiling, I feel, to Australasia, New Zealand, Australia in terms of that, whereas Americans and British culture, they can be such savages, and I love watching it.
That is good.
It's just
savage away.
Frankie Boyle and all that stuff, and Stan Hopes and all those guys, and it's just wild. Hey, it's a lot of fun, and all that Joe Rogan crew, they're pretty, loose cannons
Savage.
and stuff. Yeah,
I love it.
good
I
times,
think
yeah.
there's never been a better time to be alive.
For sure. Yeah, just more
Just depends who
opportunities
you
than
are.
ever. Yeah.
Like you could put a political lens on that and say, well, we could question that, we could debate that, but like the truth is, as a creator,
Yeah.
and I'm talking from a creator's perspective,
Yeah.
a writer, a comedian, a podcaster, a musician,
Yeah.
there's never been a better time to be alive. It's highly competitive because
Yeah.
the barrier of entry has dropped significantly.
Yeah. Anyone can enter, but
But
do they succeed kind of thing. Yeah.
it's about
yeah.
being consistent and consistently pushing yourself out of comfort zones.
Yes.
Because I'm
yeah.
not talking about consistent as in showing up every day. I'm talking about consistently showing up, trying to outdo yourself.
For sure. Yeah.
That's consistency.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think there's never been a better time to be alive for those people because you see the ones that stick it out, 5 years, 6 years, eventually they make it. They just do.
Yeah, it's just like I've got a friend and he's somehow like got to the level now when he's going to open for Ari Shafir soon, and
We've got
he's
to get him on the podcast.
yeah, his name's Kyle Legacy. He'll be here during festival. Great guy, and he's doing the mothership and stuff. And like, I always thought he was really good. Don't get me wrong, but just when that happens, you're like, oh whoa, they're doing the legit of the legit stuff. The stuff everyone wants.
Man, that's so
And
good.
James McCann? Have you heard of this guy?
No.
I don't know him personally, but I've been following a long time, an Aussie guy from Adelaide, and he's all over all those big podcasts. He's on Kill Tony's. You see him hanging out with all those guys, and he's just part of it now, opening for Shane Gillis, and like, it's like, wow, like, and again, always found him funny, but it's amazing when that happens, when they just go for it and get that big opportunity, and he literally went over there real on a whim. Like, I heard the story with a backpack, and he knew Shane, and didn't have much of an in. He just knew Shane, and then just hustled.
I love
and
that
Shane
shit.
was like, "Fucking open for me here, and I'll introduce you to these guys."
I love it.
And it worked, and that is so cool. But yeah, he took it, backpack and a dream, and like couple connections.
You know what I like about you
Yeah,
is that you're 40 something.
yeah.
You've been, technically you started comedy.
35 on Tinder.
I like you even more now.
Oh, cheers, man.
That's
yeah,
only
it's been a
adding to
great
my
chat.
point.
Yeah, enjoy your vibe.
But I think technically you've been doing comedy since like for half your life.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
off and on, but
Off
yeah,
and on.
yeah.
But the way your face lit up just there,
Yeah,
where you like appreciate the possibility
yeah.
of taking a risk.
Yeah, yeah.
the optimism in your eyes,
Yeah.
in your face, when you were just
cool.
talking about that,
Yeah.
that says this guy's still alive.
Yeah, I still, you know what I mean? It
You
might
know,
be a massive roll of the dice, but like I love people that do that, and I want to keep rolling the dice. And if it's snake eyes, it's snake eyes. If it comes up 666, then come on, let's get some steaks and hit the town. like,
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was a gambling analogy that I don't know, craps or something analogy.
yeah, I just know those are good things. Like that's my
Snake
extent.
eyes.
I know snake eyes is bad, and I know 666 is good.
666 is good.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I mean, I'm wishing you some 666 for your, 2025 and beyond,
thanks.
man.
And right back at you, 100%. Yeah.
Thanks. Like everything's going on a great trajectory with this. I can't complain. I
it's
think
awesome.
it's organic, and that's the one thing that
You're the only podcaster I know who has his own street general.
This guy.
That was so wild. I kind of like that. That was cool. Yeah.
I love him too. He's a character,
Yeah.
And we're all connected in society, and comedians play an important part in keeping us real. And I think
Oh yeah, Tiff.
we're about to get blown out by the sunlight here, so we might need to call this out.
Yeah, it's been a great chat for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, it's been so good to meet you, Dan.
Awesome, you too.
Dan.
Yeah. Thanks very much. That was good fun.
Dan Brader.
Thanks a lot.
Legendary. Yes.
Cheers.
Woo. Let's snap this one out, huh?
Come on. Thank you. That was good.
I love it, brother.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah.